I hate that you have to think about that stuff, but it matters. It's more important to me. Like I'm willing to do that to that extent because I want it to reach people because YouTube has been an incredible business generator.
Thank you for joining us, Chris. I really appreciate your time. Where are you calling in from?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is where I've lived most of my life.
You're an SEO expert, and for anybody who's been living under a rock, the last 20 years, SEO is search engine optimization. There's, particularly 10 or 15 years ago, there was especially a lot of talk about being on the first page of Google, and there was always that joke, if you want to bury a body, bury it on the second page of
Still
Google.
true.
But one of my big questions, I want to start out right out of the gate asking you this. What's the difference in SEO between 2025 and 2020? What's changed? Because a lot of things have gone on just in 5 years.
The biggest thing that's happened in then is, and this is I hate to start off negative, but Google has kind of changed what it displays. So now if you search something, you get the AI overview, and then you get some ads, and then people also ask. So there's a lot less real estate and there's a lot less traffic going to websites. Now it's still ungodly amount, but you have to work a lot harder to get the same result because I don't know if your audience is familiar with the term above the fold, but above the fold is what shows on the screen. And a lot of times what shows on the screen is the AI overview and then ads and then some other Google properties. So they're trying to keep people on Google rather than send them to websites. So that doesn't mean that SEO doesn't work anymore. It just means that you have to work a lot harder to get the same amount of traffic. And they've also released they're always releasing updates, but they've released a couple that particularly crippled certain types of sites. Like when I got into the business in 2013, what I got in to do was something called affiliate marketing, which is a type of blogging, but where you either monetize your blog through either like ads or links to other people's products. And most of those were just information, what we call informational content, which is just information on a topic. You might have something you're an expert on. Well, they released an update in, I want to say late 2023 called the helpful content update. And I put that in air quotes because it really was what they define as helpful is anyway. And it just absolutely decimated the rankings of sites like that. So now things like Forbes and Reddit and other what are called parasites tend to rank in their place. So that industry is almost dead. But for like e-commerce or local businesses and other types of stuff, they can still compete. But it's just a lot harder because there's a lot less opportunity to get seen as easily.
I was on a phone call an hour ago talking to somebody who wants to get into something, and they're like, I'm so nervous. It's like I'm trying to pour a big foundation for my business, but the ground's moving below me. And what do you say to people like that with this relative arbitrariness of the algorithm, but people still have their dreams, they have their services and products that they want to bring forward?
Well, it depends, which I'm smiling because that's like a cliche in the SEO industry. The answer to every question is it depends. But it depends on the type of business. Your brick and mortar type businesses can still do well because there's still Google Maps, there's still ads, and there's still organic search that works for them because like you can't simulate what's the best Italian restaurant in Dallas with AI. I mean, it can make, pardon my language, but it'll just make shit up. You can't really simulate that. So for that kind of business, it's still okay. For e-commerce type businesses too, like if you have a Shopify store and you sell, I don't know, shoes or something, that can still work. But if they're wanting to start like a travel blog or something like that, they're going to need a time machine. So I don't know what type of business this person was looking at getting into, but it would depend on what they're doing on how I would advise them. And if they were trying to just start an informational business, I would probably tell them to not, or to use at least to not use Google as their traffic source for that. You could still work that with like, depending on the niche with like Facebook or Pinterest or something. But for that type of business, I wouldn't even try to start one now. In fact, a lot of the people that taught how to make money doing that type of thing closed down their products that teach it because it can't doesn't work anymore.
You alluded to something earlier that I was going to ask about people that have their niche very well defined or they're in a very small market. It sounds like SEO would be a big winner for that. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes, I would say so. But, there's also advantages to big, broad niches too. Like, I don't know, like a dentist or something, for example, like SEO is a good investment for them because they're really good at upselling people. Again, creating much longer lifetime value. So you can work it for a lot of things. But the real thing is if it's not great for restaurants, for example, because the average ticket is what, 50 to $100 unless it's like a really ritzy place. So for them, it takes a lot more to pay a three to $5,000 a month SEO retainer to like make that back. So that's really the math that you want to do is how many leads and how many sales will it take to get back, twice what you paid the agency.
And I know you offer a wide host of services and hopefully we get into that. But once you get somebody optimized in SEO where they're very high, above the fold, if you can get them in there, what's the next stage of that? Is there something you take them to after they've succeeded there?
Well, again, it depends. But the thing to think about with that is just because you're number one doesn't mean you get to stay there. There's a lot of people that are always going to want to take that from you. And that is hard to explain to some customers. But the analogy that I've used is that if you are overweight and you're out of shape and then you start dieting and you start exercising and you get in shape, you're in shape or the equivalent of being number one. But then if you start sitting on the couch and eating potato chips and drinking beer and watching TV, you're going to get fat again. So you have to continue to work out and eat well to stay in shape. And that's how I present that to them, that we've done all this work to get there. Now we still have to work to stay there because people tend to think of it as a race where once you get to the end, you win. Once you win, it's over. But with this, there's always another Thai massage place that's trying to take your place. So that's just the way the business is. So that's that. And then of course, if you get there, while you're maintaining, you can expand into other, maybe they start offering another service or you target different keywords or things like that too. So that's why I say it depends. There's other ways you can go about it. So
when you're having that conversation, Chris, where somebody might have never spent money on their website and they might have never spent money on a single ad, and now they're faced with $3,000 to $5,000 a month, which you and I both know is not a lot of money. If it's a decent sized business, that's a relatively small investment. How do you get people over that? How do you deal with that objection?
A lot of it is industry specific. Some industries just get it better than others. So that's one thing, but it really just comes down to the individual that you're talking to. And basically you have to get good at sales and learn how to handle different objections because different people will respond. Different closes will work different with different. I've learned a lot about sales training. Different closes will work differently on different people. But in general, I find that something that everyone can understand is math. And you can just break it out to each client you get is worth X, and then they buy from you Y times, and you earn Z, and you pay B whatever N, and that is worth that many more. So you're making that, I can make you that much more based off of this. A lot of SEOs suck at that because they'll be like, they're trying to cover all the worst case scenarios when they're selling someone, and they're like, it could take 3 to 6 months and you may not make any money then, but you have to pay me the whole time ahead of time. And if it doesn't work, it's not my fault because I don't own Google. Sign here. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but only a little bit.
I was gonna back you up on that and say you're not far off.
Yeah. But I have a pretty big SEO Facebook group, and I asked in it one time, just because out of curiosity, I was like, if you worked with a client for $3,000 a month for 6 months, that means that they've paid you $18,000. How much should they have made from that $18,000 they've paid you? And the number of people that said that that's not their responsibility was just mind blowing to me. And I'm like, why should you get to earn 18,000 and they don't want to get at least 36? They should get back what they paid you and that much again, at least. And that to me, that's unethical to not make them money, unless with a few exceptions, because again, it depends. But a few exceptions. There's sometimes you'll get some really arrogant lawyers who just want the trophy of being number one and don't really need the business. So occasionally you get that. But for the most part, you need to sell people a way of doing it that will make their investment back. That's why everyone hates us, is because we don't make people the same thing that we expect to get. So,
And I would think too that when people are making that investment, if they're not getting their money's worth, that same service provider that's not delivering a good service, they're also not getting referrals. But people like you that understand they need to get multiples of return on their investment. They got if people like you that are watching the ROI, it's easier for you and you're not fighting for clients as much because I'll tell you, anybody that does a good job for me, almost every episode, I mention our video editor, Javon. We wouldn't have a YouTube channel if it wasn't for Javon. He's that, and I bring him up so often because he's on Upwork. He's a great guy. And I'll send as many people to him any day because he does a fantastic job. So when somebody does a really good job, you tell a lot of people. And I would think that in SEO, if you're delivering multiples, if people are getting a good return on their investment, they're going to tell everybody. Whereas these other people, they're always on the hunt for clients and they're starving.
yeah, the problem is that there's no barrier to entry in SEO. Like there's no like governing body or anything like that. Not that regulation is a good thing, but uh, and it's also been pitched, not so much anymore, but for a long time it was pitched by like course creators, and I don't want to mention any names, but a lot of people, including myself, I sold courses, but as an easy way to start a business and make money. And it kind of is, because technically you're one phone call away from $5,000. But it does, they forget to teach people that you need to learn how to do business in general, but you also need to learn how to do the thing that you're selling. And a lot of people want to skip over that part. Like you'll notice when they pitch a course or a training or some of those coaches you were talking about, they talk about how to get more business. They never talk about how to do the thing. And I think that's why there are so many untalented people in SEO. Like to ask anybody that sells SEO as an agency what the most common complaint they get from a prospect is, and they will say, I've worked with so many other agencies in the past and they sucked. They didn't get me results. They didn't communicate. Almost everybody you talk to says that to you. And that's because it's filled with people that don't either intentionally or a lot of times unintentionally just don't know how to do the job. So now, to be fair, sometimes when I hear I've worked with a ton of agencies and they all sucked, I start thinking about what one person was common to all of that. So sometimes it's the customer too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm not from the school that the customer's always right.
No, neither am I.
There are times, and here was the big bombshell is when 4 Hour Workweek came out. That was I don't know if it was ever written before, but in that book, and I think I read it the first year that it came out, he talked early in the book about that he fired 20% of his customers, the most problematic. And I thought, what? Up to that point, I had thought the customer was always right. And he said, no, this 20% of the people were causing 80% of the hassle. So I got rid of them. And I thought, wow, this guy's on this. That nowadays we all know that, but that was groundbreaking when Tim Ferriss said that. That's been probably 15 years ago or something. That book, maybe 20.
Yeah. Some people have taken that too far the other way now, though, and feel like, no, a customer should never be even slightly difficult ever. And like they won't put up with the least little bit of thing too. So I've seen it go too far the other way.
Sure. Well, even from a business discussion, I've never learned very much from someone that agrees with me 100%. It's when there's a little bit of, that's when I get that perspective, is when they're coming somewhat diagonal at my position. That's when I learn. And that's exciting to see somebody that comes with a completely different perspective. When I was doing research for this episode, I was watching videos, and there was a gentleman on a video talking about SEO optimized content. And I could have spent the next month soaking up all the information that you have out there, because you've got multiple sources. You've got a great YouTube site. Your website has got tons of content in there that people can connect with. But I think this gentleman was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was selling a package of SEO optimized content. And is that something that goes on their webpage, or is that something that they're doing like a backlink strategy?
I would have to see the specific offer to know for sure, but it sounds like he's writing some blog posts and maybe some pages that are probably optimized with a tool like Surfer SEO, or there's 2 or 3 of those that basically what they do is I have one myself, but basically you'll put in like your keyword and your URL, and it'll tell you what the top results are doing as far as how many words they have and how many times they have their keyword in it and a bunch of other factors. And then you try to write the content optimized for that. It sounds a little more, it sounds like something that would work better than it actually does. Because what people do when they use tools like that is they stop thinking and they just start doing what the tool tells them. But I mean, without seeing the specific offer, I don't know exactly what he was offering, but it could be backlinks, it could be content. There's a lot of different ways to package SEO, which is a good thing because like my site has like individual freelancers that offer pieces of it rather than comprehensive, monthly retainer type things. Because some people want to do it themselves, but they don't want to do it themselves, if that makes sense.
And one thing that I have to say about your website that I loved immediately, you have prices on there. And that's something me and all my friends, when we get together and we talk about business, it's like, call us. We don't have time. Like a restaurant, we want to know, what are your hours? Where are you? And can I see a menu? And how many websites I've seen that has neither of those three things. So of course, you have services that could potentially be more expensive, but it's very clear on your site what you're delivering and what the price is. And I think that's fantastic. I wish more people did that.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is we're talking about kind of two different things. Like Legiit is the site I assume you're talking about. It's a marketplace, similar to like, I hate this analogy, but like similar to like a Fiverr or an Upwork type of thing. So it's individual people offering pieces. So yeah, I think that's good for the business owner that wants to do it themselves, which is our ideal customer, is somebody that wants to do it themselves, at least the strategy, and then just get people to like do the not manual labor, but the labor behind it. As far as agencies, which is not on that site, but agencies, I get why they don't put their prices because it's like kind of, what's the term? Is it a la carte or bespoke? Whatever it is, the term is when you're trying to do, it's different for every person. So
yeah, highly customized would be bespoke. And of course, the size of clients matter too. But
right.
for the smaller business owners, I think they really like the a la carte, especially people that are newer in business. They don't know what they don't know. They aren't sure what they need. They saw a couple of YouTube videos, and there's a place for that too.
When that's actually our target customer.
Oh, good. Okay. That's perfect. Cause I was going to ask you that. So you like people that are a little bit earlier in their journey.
Not necessarily earlier, but like our avatar is a business owner who knows that they need growth and marketing and SEO and online stuff, to just make it simple. And they don't necessarily want to work with an expensive agency, whether they don't have the money or they just don't want to. And they want to be able to control it themselves. But at the same time, they don't want to be building backlinks and writing blog posts and shit because they've got a business to run. That's who we're trying to help. And that's a very underserved niche not just in my opinion, but based on data that I have.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think is the lowest hanging fruit when you work with clients, just in general? Because I know every situation varies, but on average, when you're encountering these people that are your avatar, what is the easiest thing you can usually pluck out and make some kind of impact on?
Usually, it's the content, the stuff on what we call in SEO, what we call on page, which means basically everything that happens on the site. Usually, nobody's good at that unless they're good at that, which I know that sounds redundant, but I think you know what I mean. Like most people that don't know it aren't good at that. And they'll have one thing I always look for is, it's a stupid example, but in the tab, it'll say home instead of like the name of their business or their keyword or something like that, optimizing their content for their keywords, because Google is a computer and it doesn't understand. Your job is to make the computer understand what your site is about. And most people don't do that, at least intentionally don't do that. They'll either go too heavy and they'll say, I don't know, Milwaukee plumber, like stuff it too much, or they won't have it at all. So like, that's the thing that can make just getting that from crappy to even like not perfect, but like kind of good will make a huge difference in your ranking. Like a lot of times you'll be not ranking at all, and fixing that will get you to like page 3, that just by itself. And you can do that in, a couple of hours. So depending on the situation.
Yeah, that's a good payoff. I mean, for that relatively low investment of time. And I wanted to comment too on the no strip. Is that a nod to Alex Hormozy or?
No, I get asked that a lot actually. It's just I'm very into biohacking and health and stuff, and it helps you get more oxygen per breath. And that's something that's helped me a lot. It dropped my resting heart rate by about 4 points. And since I started wearing it in my videos, people always ask about it. So it's been good for engagement too. So I'm trying to
Fantastic.
get the company that makes them to like let me be a brand, whatever, ad sponsor.
Absolutely. No. So it sounds like wasn't because of Hormozy. Maybe before that, you were into it.
Well,
Because
I didn't find it because of him, but I get that a lot because we were sitting in similar niches, and he kind of like did it. But no, it's a common biohacker thing. The company's called Hostage Tape, and so
is there anything else in that biohacking that you think is that you share with your entrepreneur friends that you think they try this? Here are the three things, because I take a lot of supplements, but there's really only a couple that I know for a fact that they're making some type of major change. And of
yeah.
course, there's a lot of hype out there too.
The main thing I tell people to do is to learn how to sleep. Like I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on that. Like I have 3 different tracking devices. I have an 8 sleep bed. I have a gravity blanket, and it makes a huge difference. Like I feel so like a whole different person since the other night because I struggled with insomnia all my life, and learning how to sleep through tracking devices and supplements and other gadgets. I could talk about this for hours, but other gadgets like has just changed my life. And that's why I'm not embarrassed to wear stuff like this on camera. And plus, like I said, it has helped engagement, but that was an accident.
On your page where we were talking about those freelancers, what criteria, I mean, other than reviews and maybe a good positive personal experience, you're making choices. Obviously, you have a big platform where these people can get on and potentially get a lot of business, and it's also associated with your name. What
Mhm.
criteria do you go through to choose somebody to put out there?
Well, there's a few different ways to answer, a few different parts to this answer, I should say. Um, First of all, before it can even be on, or anybody can put what they can try to put what they want on there as far as what they do. There's a 66-point inspection that every service has to go through before it can even be approved. So before you even see it, there's like credibility in that. And then something we recently instituted was they have to then they don't then it will show up on their own individual profile, but it won't show in our search results or our subcategories yet. They have to go out and prove to us that they deserve our traffic and that and can help our customers. There's different criteria for different categories, but they have to like show that they do good customer service, that they're willing to go out and sell and try to push it themselves and not just rely on the internal algorithm to send them traffic and things like that. And then they have to continue to do a good job, the basic stuff that any business should try to do, deliver on time and be helpful and actually give results. Now, there's a little gray area with the actual get results because there's not one thing that works with it. A lot of our services are SEO because I had a big SEO audience before we started. That wasn't really the intention. It just kind of worked out that way. But there's not one thing that works. And my opinion of what works and somebody else's isn't. So I try to let capitalism decide that as much as possible, as far as unless it's something that's purposely harming somebody else. Just because I don't think something works doesn't mean that we don't allow it. So if somebody else thinks it does, we do. But mostly it's because it's people that have gone through our 66-point inspection. Funny story there. We had when we figured out the different points that came up with 65. I was like, let's find another one. So it's 66. So
It's got a better ring to it.
yeah, but and then they've gone through that, and then they've gone through the effort of actually getting our earning our bit traffic. Because we don't have any competitors in the sense that nobody's doing exactly what we're doing, but the sites that people compare us to, the Fivers and the Upworks and stuff like that, are publicly traded companies with a lot of traffic, so they can afford to let some shitty people on there. I don't have unlimited traffic yet, but I have to send that to the people that best help our customers. And that's the different, among other things, those are the main criteria that we've come up with. And just doing a good job isn't enough. Like if you do a good job and you're late all the time, or you don't reply to messages, or you're an asshole, then that gets factored in too. So
I was surprised. I hate to admit this because I've been working with a lot of great people on Upwork for a long time, at least the last, let's see, 3 years now. I didn't look at what their I wouldn't call it a commission structure, but I didn't look at their pay structure until today. I was looking for something else and I got it. I was talking to Chat GPT and I was saying, what's, when you're a freelancer, what's the breakdown? And they take 20% of the first $500. And I thought, that's not a very good deal. I know that there's reasons for that, but I just thought, wow, because there's people that were, I'm taking chances on people with almost no low reputation just because I liked their page, and then maybe I got on because you have to use their Loom, not Zoom, and I was like, okay, yeah, this, I like their vibe, let's go for it. So I've given people kind of their first shot, and I've left them good feedback so that they can continue with their success. But I had no idea that Upwork was getting 20% of that first 500. That just seems a little hefty to me, but
Ours is 15 across, like it doesn't change with your levels. It's 15%.
okay.
So that sounds like a lot, but we operate on razor thin margins from that, because you figure if we sell, $1,000, we're making $150. So like, there's not a lot. It takes a lot of volume to like run a good business that way. So, and we'll monetize through other ways as well. So
I would say 15% in the way you're set up. That's pretty lucrative for them because they're not in this giant Red Sea.
Yeah.
So I think, the way you're set up, because there are limitations, that's a good deal in that environment. But to be in this gigantic, like I said, it's easy to get lost on Upwork, and a lot of people got on there, and as they have on other places like that, they do a lot of good work, and they get on there and they get nothing. Or they start applying for all of these potential gigs, and they just don't get chosen for.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a common complaint I get from freelancers too. Is we signed up and we don't get anywhere. 9 times out of 10, I'll look at what they offer and I'll be like, I get why you're not getting any sales. As they've done just enough to get approved. You know what I mean? Or what they have is well designed, but it's like nobody wants that. You know what I mean? So
right.
I've spent countless hours like trying to educate freelancers on how to get better at this. And like that, it's like with any kind of coaching, like that percent little will actually listen and do it right. But I still freelance on the site myself to, one, because it helps bring my brand name. I hate to sound arrogant, but like my brand name brings in traffic, but also I try to like lead from the front and show them how to do it the right way. And, just like I did, because I did freelancing on other sites before we started, and I crushed it on all of those, and I'm crushing it on there too. And I did partly because, I need to make money too, but to set the example of how to do this the right way. And
sure.
Some people have followed, and some people have passed me, and then others they just want to copy and paste what they do on Fiverr. And, I equate Fiverr to Walmart to, they're the cheap and high volume. If that's what you want, you can go over there. If you want the video of a guy that looks like Jesus holding up a sign, I feel bad because that's like their top selling gig there is that. And I feel bad because I always pick on that guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful person, and he's, God bless him for figuring out a great way to make a living. But to me, I want to help businesses and I want to offer valuable things. And some stuff just isn't valuable. And some freelancers just can't get that through their head that they can't offer what I call commodity service with us. They have to offer something high quality. So even if what they do isn't necessarily bad, it doesn't mean that anybody wants it. In college, I applied to go work at Circuit City. For those of you that don't know, that's kind of like Best Buy. It's not in business anymore, but, and I didn't know what department I wanted to work in. I just knew I wanted to work there. I don't really even know why, thinking back, but I applied, and they say, what department do you want to work in? I was like, I don't know, but I'm not good with people, so you should keep me away from the customers. And to this day, I don't know why he hired me, because I would not have hired somebody that answered that way. But I ended up working in the warehouse. And now, I speak in front of hundreds of people. I've done thousands of hours of video, and like, I actually look forward to that kind of thing now. So it's like, I guess I was probably 22 at the time. I'll be 47 this year. 22-year-old me would absolutely hate 47-year-old me, or at least not recognize him.
And your message is resonating with people. You've got a fantastic YouTube channel. I'm going to make sure that we get all of those links in the description and hopefully on screen too towards the end. But I think you're at 21,000 and a half subscribers, which for me and my 121 subscribers, that's huge. I mean, compared to me, you're huge. And I was looking at the engagement on there and the likes and your energy level in the videos and your thumbnails, things that I'm just now in my almost on my 1 year YouTube journey, just beginning to really appreciate. And we've got a wonderful lady, Caroline, who's doing our thumbnails. And I do see, I can't really pinpoint exactly where, but I started to see this point where there was a lot of momentum on your channel. Do you think what was the secret? That's what
Well,
I'm asking.
for what it's worth, I don't feel like I've had the level of success I should have had with that in the amount of time I've been doing it. But lately, it's been a big focus. For me, I guess if I had to pinpoint, there's two times. Back in 2017, I started doing I did a 30-day challenge where I did a video a day, and probably 40 to 50%, no, maybe not, a good percent of those subscribers I have now came from that 30 days. And then for years, I just mostly did live streams, and that was hit and miss. I've basically fallen in and out of love with it a few times. And then when the pandemic started in early 2020, I was like, fuck, how am I going to keep business going? How am I going to keep in touch with people? So I started doing live streams every single day for months on end because I didn't have I didn't really have any other way to communicate with people because we were all stuck at home. And, to be perfectly honest, I was lonely at the time too. So like that was a way for me to have a community too. And that, I hate to say it, but that was one of the biggest growth periods for our business and for my channel, was early pandemic. So if I had to pinpoint two things, it would be that. And then in the last 3 months, I've actually started working with an agency that helps me script my videos and design my thumbnails and come up with the topics. It's still like me talking, but they give me suggestions and then I give them bullet points and they turn that into a script and then I adapt the script to the way. So, it's like a whole process. And, so that they know what they're doing as far as channel growth. And that's helped a lot. And I've gotten back into doing daily live streams again because there's this thing I've noticed that with entrepreneurs is they'll do something and then it'll work and then they just stop doing it. And I'm guilty of that myself. So I'm trying to get back to that. But I guess those are the main things. But the real thing with that is to talk about what you're good at and people will come.
Whether you have a business or want to start one, you need ideas. Pick up our book, Scintilla, the ultimate guide to generating business ideas, products, and services. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and now as an audiobook. After buying the book, go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type Book Bonus Material to get access to the book's vault of extra information, as well as access to a private Facebook group for book owners. Find the link to the book in the description.
You can't strictly make stuff for yourself, especially if no one gives a shit about the stuff that you give a shit about too. But at the same time, if you're talking about, and I went through a phase of this on my channel when I was working with a different agency who ended up not being great. But if you're talking about stuff that's not authentic to you, you're going to hate it. You're not going to want to do it. It might work, but it might not. And it's not sustainable. So you have to find that balance of stuff that relates to your brand but also works for their algorithm. So it sucks that it's that way. It would be nice if you could just talk about your, cash in on your passion type of thing. But, I got to play the game a little bit too.
Sure. So that agency is using a little bit of what people are looking for, and that gets integrated into your channel a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that even I didn't think about until recently. The topic, the way you deliver it, you have to have a hook at the beginning and then you have to keep people hooked and then you have to surprise them with the ending. I hate that you have to think about that stuff, but it matters. It's more important to me. I'm willing to do that to that extent because I want it to reach people because YouTube has been an incredible business generator. I guess I should have mentioned that before. I get a ton of business from YouTube and I enjoy it. So when it's a topic I can enjoy and I think it'll generate business, I'm willing to play the game a little bit. I'm not willing to get into the shit that you have to do in thumbnails and you won't believe what happened next, that stuff. I'm not going to go that far with it. But yeah, so there's that. But when I do some consulting and things like that. And one of the first things I tell every single person I work with is to do YouTube. And they're like, oh, I'm too nervous. It's like, so am I. I just still do it anyway. Sure.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, they're like, well, I'll have to buy all that equipment. I was like, maybe eventually, but for the beginning, pull out your phone and start talking.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a tool right here that I don't know with this virtual thing, but you could put your iPhone on this
Yeah.
and just, very simple, like $15 on Amazon. Come on,
Yeah, I had something similar.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, now I have a pretty expensive lighting and camera setup, and
yeah,
my background is optimized to look cool and stuff like that. But in the beginning, I literally used to wear sunglasses in my videos inside because I was like, I guess I thought it looked cool. And I was kind of like, I think subconsciously I was like hiding that way a little bit. But yeah, so I look back at those and I cringe. But you know what? I still did it. And
that's
so
right.
I didn't let the fact that I was nervous about it stop me from doing it. And a lot of people do. And like another way I sell it to people is like, if I could put you in a room with 10 of your ideal customers and they were interested in hearing what you had to say, that'd be great, right? And most people will say yes. I was like, that's a shitty YouTube video right there. 10 people will watch it that are interested in it. So even if it's a crappy video, that's still 10 people that you reached.
What, as far as in your job and the business, what are you doing that is the most exciting for you that you look forward to do? And what stuff don't you like that you farm out?
Um, I mean, I hate the same stuff that everybody else hates, the accounting and the taxes and, that stuff. My favorite thing is probably working with my employees. I shouldn't say employees, the working with the team. That's probably my most gratifying part. And then we have a lot of freelancers on our platform, and some of them have gone from really bad situations to making life-changing money. And some of the stories they've told me is just like, I'm getting choked up talking about it now. Some of the stories they've told me has, been very, very powerful and how much effect it's had. So that's really great. And the same with some of the customers who have been able to turn their businesses around through the platform. So those are probably the most gratifying things. As far as like the actual stuff I do, creating content is probably the most gratifying thing. I told you I'm into biohacking. I sometimes used to wear my Aura ring, and it has this daytime, they call it stress. It's not stress in the way we think of stress, but it monitors like you're either, what is it? It's like restored or relaxed, or like there's a medium and then you're stressed. And like I noticed that when I'm like writing or creating, it would always be in restored. And then like when I'm doing like, I don't know, like customer calls or things, I don't really have that many things I don't like. But when I'm doing the things I don't like, it's in stressed. So that said, it's not super accurate, but I did notice that about it. And I would say that that's probably my favorite thing is the creating content, but working with impacting both the people that work for me and then the people on the platform is probably the most gratifying thing. And the money's nice too.
Absolutely. So maybe out of that creating, would the most of that joy be expressing itself when you're writing? You're alone, you're in an environment, you're thinking deeply, and you're putting ideas down versus being on camera and delivering that script.
If I had to like rank them, I would say that like I've been really, really effective with my personal Facebook profile in marketing through it. And that's probably my favorite way to create content. But YouTube would probably be second. So, and then lately I've been speaking at a lot of events, and I hated that for a while. Well, I shouldn't say hated. I never hated it while I was doing it. I put it off for a long time, but I've actually gotten to where I enjoy doing that too.
I wanted to ask you what platform, and of course every business is different, but what platform you're getting most of your leads from. In other words, which one's delivering the best value. But before we do that, I do want to say, when I was looking through your posts, you do something that I like a lot. You're very generous with praise, and I don't think enough people are. And you said some wonderful things. There was a post, I think it was 22 weeks ago, where a lady's been working for you for a long time, and you were
It's my assistant. Yeah, I know exactly the post you're talking about.
And I've just thought, man, I love that. I read a lot of business books, and then when I get burned out on business books, I'll read autobiographies just to take a break, and because I like to know how did somebody. And I did Al Pacino's autobiography. I do actors, usually creatives, and I've read so many autobiographies now. I start to judge the person by how many people they thank. And it's amazing the people that I thought, I'm not sure if this is a good person or not. And you get through their book and they don't thank anybody. And they're the person that you thought they were. And then there were other people that I wasn't sure about, and they, you can tell they really love their wife. that they're really good to their team, and they're lavishing so much praise, and you just know that they're great people. So I wanted to mention that to you, that you're very generous with your praise. I know it's authentic, and I bet you're a great guy to work with. So I would encourage people, if they need SEO, to get with you, because your energy and those posts were just I thought it was fantastic. I know you're out there
Thank you.
doing good stuff.
Thank you. I made that same post on Instagram, and it's the most liked post I have on Instagram.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I joke with her about that sometimes, that she has like it doesn't help that she's not, it helps that she's, a nice looking lady, but it's yeah, no, I remember exactly the post you're talking about, and I got a lot of nice feedback from that, but it was long overdue, because like she's very introverted and doesn't talk to anybody but me, really. And like, she makes my life so much easier. I finally got to meet her in person, and I was like, I wanted to show her that. So,
That's
thank you,
fantastic.
I guess, is what I'm saying.
My mother had a cheesy poster of a rabbit, and the poster's so old. I think it's from the 1980s, and she actually framed it. And it's just a kind of a goofy photo of a rabbit, and it says, "It's nice to be praised a little, petted a little, and appreciated a little." Now, Mom's been gone for several years, but that was something that she really tried to make sure that I absorbed. And of course, I didn't always fully grasp it. And now that I'm kind of in the fall and headed into the winter of my life, I understand the value of that now. And a little bit of appreciation goes a long way, whether it be a freelancer or a friend, or yeah, and it costs absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more people could. I don't know if there's any really good books about that too. I think there's a book called The Go Giver, if people want to understand that.
I don't know that.
One thing that I'm really trying to work on, particularly this year, is to be a better gift giver. I do like to give gifts. I like to send them out at odd times, and learn about somebody's tastes and try to get them something that really, I like that. I really like that. But I think I really want to up my gift giving game in 2025.
Interesting.
How do you keep everything cohesive with everybody working in different places? Is it a big team meeting, or are you just doing a lot of one-on-one?
We use Slack a lot. That's like, I consider that to be like our office. For people who don't know, Slack is like a business chat type of platform. It's more to it than that, but that's the easiest way to explain it. That's kind of like, I consider that our office. I've there's I have a co-founder that I work with. We have a Zoom meeting once a week, and then I have one lady that lives basically where I live, but I never see her in person either. And we do a meeting once a week. She's our chief of operations, and then we have a overall team meeting once a month. But I talk to almost everybody almost every day through Slack. So
That's
that's kind of how I coordinate it. I have people in every continent except for Antarctica.
Wow. If there's anybody from Antarctica,
Every time I say that.
somebody's out there looking.
Well, some people are like, I'll move to Antarctica if you give me a job. So I was like, you really don't know what Antarctica is like. I don't think you
Well,
would.
it's pretty rough. It's pretty dry, which is a strange aspect of it. Now, you mentioned very early on what your customer avatar is, or in other words,
Mhm.
your favorite client that you like to work with. Can you recap that? In other words, the type of business that you look forward to working with.
Sure. Our goal with Legiit is to empower every business on earth to be able to use our platform to grow on their own. The people that need that most are business owners that want to grow, but don't want to hire an agency. Now, agencies are some of our customers too. I'm not knocking on agencies. I'm an agency owner myself, but they don't want to hire agencies. They want to know what to do and know who to do, like get to help them to do it. And that's who we're looking out for. So think of, and it can be much bigger than this, but these are just the easy examples to give. It could be your local plumber or dentist or roofer, or we have a lot of customers from the inflatables industry, like bounce house business.
Wow.
For what some reason they really like take to SEO. I don't get it. I don't know why, but we have a lot of them, and a lot of them have had tons of success. And in fact, one person that I'm thinking of, I know I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry, but
No, go ahead.
one person I'm thinking of, like did the SEO for his own inflatable business, and he did it so well that he had connections in that industry, and they started doing SEO for inflatable businesses. And that's happened a few times in a few verticals now that we've worked with. So that's who we want. It's an underserved industry because everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to do themselves, but nobody actually knows how to do it, and they want to do it themselves, but they don't want to do it themselves. They want to, you know what I mean? So having different people to outsource is kind of the advantage that we give them. And then we have the software built into the platform as well that nobody else offers, where you can connect your website and it'll tell you what you're missing and what you're doing right, and give you other opportunities. And then our AI will tell them who to use based on past customers to get that done. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible. And also we're trying to make it so they never have to leave. You talked about biographies. A big inspiration for mine was the Steve Jobs biography, the Walter Isaacson one. And in that, they talked about how he envisioned Apple being like the hub of your whole digital life. And that's kind of what we envisioned for Legiit, is a business owner connects their site to it. They get all the tools, training, and tracking and talent they need to run it and grow it to whatever level they want to go to. So we want to answer your question. The avatar is a business owner that wants to take charge of their own business and help and grow it without having to give that off to an agency or I don't know, a PR firm or whatever. So.
And there's a lot of different ways a service can be delivered, done with you, done for you, do it yourself. It sounds like you're giving people a lot more options, because for people that don't know, typically if an agency does something, they're usually doing everything turnkey, which, you know, may or may not work, especially if somebody has a budgetary constraint.
Yeah.
We wrote about it a little bit in the book Scintilla, that done with you and do it yourself are usually the more cost-effective options. Now, what ways are you getting most of your business from? Is it from Facebook? Is it from YouTube?
My personal brand has helped a lot with that. That was unintentional, but now it is intentional. In the beginning, it was unintentional. Now it's intentional. By raw traffic, it's got probably tie between Facebook and Google. I would say Facebook has probably been the number one, and then Google number two, but YouTube is right in the mix as well. And, you know, lately in our analytics, we're seeing more traffic come from ChatGPT. So that's interesting.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
But that's part of why I'm doing these things, because my theory is that when I say these things, I mean interviews like this.
Sure.
My theory is that that's how it learns, is by mentions. So I'm trying to get my brand and my name mentioned as much as possible. And like the kid that connected us, he's given me lists and lists of podcasts to be on. He's like, this one only just started. And I was like, I don't care how small they are. I'm taking every interview that somebody will give me all year long. So that's kind of the goal. But anyway, if I had to rank them, it would be Facebook, Google, and then YouTube. But we get a lot of direct traffic as well. Interestingly, in Google, our number one search term is our brand name. So that's kind of shows the power of branding.
Wow. Yeah. Very strong brand. And money can't buy that, I don't think. I mean, you really, truly earned that. For the people watching this, and we'll put this, all of the links in the description, but what's the best way you'd like them to visit with you?
Well, first of all, I would hope they would go check out our site, legiit.com with 2 I's. Funny story there. I mentioned the brand name was our number one search. When we started, Google didn't even recognize that as a term. It tried to correct it to like the word legit, like Legit. It doesn't do that anymore. So that's the power of branding, right? But go sign up there. We have people that will help you out. If you want to connect with me personally, search me on Facebook. Search Chris M. Walker, because there was a one-hit wonder in the 90s named Chris Walker, and he dominates for that search. So I added the M, Chris M. Walker. I tell that joke at the beginning of any of my speeches.
Even your story behind your URL is interesting, but we'll save that later on. Once I get 100,000 subs, I'll visit back.
Okay. And then YouTube as well. Like if you want to learn and interact with me, right now I'm doing daily live streams, so you can catch me there too. Just chrismwalker.tv for that.
On the behalf of not just myself, but our editor, Javon, which it helps keep him working, and our VA, Caroline, thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Free Time Mastermind group now offers special videos available only to Mastermind Insiders. Go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type YouTube Insider to get free access. Also, click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video. Thank you for watching the Free Time Mastermind podcast.